Hello folks, welcome to IAS Academy. In today's video, we will be discussing a current affair topic. So what is this topic that we will be discussing about? Europe-USA break is changing the world. What do we mean by this? In this video, we will be discussing as to why is it news, what is the relevance of it to UPSC, there is a GS paper too. We will also be discussing about your neo-imperialism. Is it anyhow in recent terms, seeing the scenarios that is happening, is it reoccurring in the world? If so, why do we feel that? If not, why do we feel that? Then at last we will be discussing what is India's stance on all of this. This video is presented to you by your faculty, Sushma KP. Alright, let's get into the video. Look at this. What is driving Trump's seeming isolationism and disregard for the international order? What happened that we are telling this? Alright. Now, before we get into the video, I have a small news. Legacy IAS Academy has started Impact 2025, where you have intensive mains practice and content training. This will be helpful for your holistic preparation of UPSC. At the same point of time, for those of you who are appearing for 2025 prelims, there is a current affair compilation series that is going on. Please do check out that if you are attempting your prelims in 2025. Complete details of these courses will be provided in the description box below. Check out that. Coming back to the topic. Now, when we said that why the rule-based order is changing, what exactly is happening in international order right now? First and foremost, now marks the third anniversary of the war between your Russia and Ukraine. Recently, if you see Donald Trump, the second term US president, the changes that he has been bringing about in the international order is not something how the protocol usually takes place. What do I mean by that? See, your Gaza Palestine conflict, Gaza, Palestine, Israel, these are not new. These have been happening since the creation of Israel, 1948 onwards itself. Do you think no one could solve it back then? Do you think your Oslo Accords or your mediation, none of those could solve it? The only thing was they wanted a solution which would broker peace in the region and not more instability in the region. Presently, now with your ongoing Israel Hamas war, yes, the way Trump has decided to solve it is in the Gaza region. Yes, in the Gaza Strip, his plan is to remove all the Palestinians from that piece of land and make it a Riviera, American Riviera, where everyone can live together. And asked where will you exactly put the Palestinians, he has a plan such as he's going to build better housing, better job employment, so they will not even want to return or come back. See, the issue here is coming from the fact that he is taking a decision for Palestine. He is taking the decision for Palestinians. He is taking a decision for Gaza without actually involving the members in it. Yes. Now, do you think this is new that your Western powers have tried to chalk out the world order based on their demands, based on what they think is best? This is not new. This has been happening since very long. The history is an example for that. When and where we will speak further down. Now, the same thing when he is applying to your Russia-Ukraine war. Now, your US President Donald Trump has entered in for the mediation, telling that he will bring peace in this region. But the way he is deciding to bring peace in the region is, first of all, understand the conflict is between your Russia and Ukraine. And to broker or mediate the peace, he feels that Ukraine is not necessary in it. Now, it almost appears like your Gaza situation, Palestinian situation, where the most worst affected of this are not even invited in this. Yeah. So this creates an issue where what exactly is, now when you say USA is trying to play the role, is it going back in history? Is it trying to bring back a new version of imperialism that the world was used to? That is why we are asking the question, have we entered into neo-imperialism? Understanding? So this is the course of the video. Now, look at this. Kremlin accuses Kyiv of lacking will to continue peace talks is because your US is forcing Kyiv, that is US is forcing Ukraine to take up things that is not agreeable to them. Why exactly do they feel that, or why exactly your US is forcing? Again, one thing with respect to your hegemon or your hegemony is, time and again we have seen that they try to create the forces or create the zones which they feel that the hegemony. Now understand what I tell. Hegemony is a concept which means you have, understand this, USA where it has huge power block. It appears like a savior for your security. It appears like it is the head of, yes, the world, wherein it says that the status quo, the hegemony of USA, it is trying to use to win it over. Win what over? Win the world situation over to benefit itself and its allies. One such in that, meanwhile, what they are making is these buffers or the countries which are geographically they have important position, but because of their significantly weaker position, they are amassed by this big powers and converting them as mere pawns in the course of the war. For example, the same thing that happened in your Latin American countries, the same thing that happened with respect to your Afghanistan. Yes, they come and they do, and then they leave, leaving the security of that place torn and shattered. So this hegemon is trying to create a scenario where it will not affect the hegemony. What do I mean by that? This is your USA. This is your Ukraine. This is your Russia. Russia-Ukraine war has been going on. USA has now entered this sphere telling that I'm going to bring peace. And you see, it is somewhat favoring Russia and not Ukraine. Significantly, why this is happening? For example, recently, your Trump called out on his allies, the Western allies, because the Western allies wanted to condemn Russia for its war in UN, that is United Nations. Trump was critical of the Western allies. Why? What is USA trying to get out of this? See, USA recognizes yes, Russia is also significantly very important in its region, Eastern Europe region. And it is trying to move towards favoring or trying to give a more of considerators like a peace arm. Why it wants to go towards Russia? Main thing is one of the main competition that the USA is finding now is its enemy that it considers China. And there is growing proximity between Russia and China. If these two come together, then it will be a formidable challenge for USA. So to curb that, your USA is trying to play nice or trying to get or Russia win over to this side. I mean, not technically come on this side and fight, but at least not be friend. You don't be my friend, but at least don't be the friend of my enemy. That is the concept that is going on here. Now, this policy of USA, many of the Western allies and European countries themselves have criticized, telling you are changing the rule-based order that we are trying in your Indo-Pacific region to counter China and in your European region to counter Russia. Look at this. Trump calls Zelensky a dictator as a rift between two leaders deepens. So you see these kind of scenarios happening where yes, the West is trying to do what is best for it, but in the meanwhile, in the process, it is converting these smaller states which need security aid into a mere pawns. That is what we see with respect to your Ukraine, that is what we see with respect to your Palestine. Western driven order, whatever we are seeing right now, it appears like it is returning to older imperialistic impulses. What are those older imperialistic impulses that we have seen in the history? For example, your Benjamin Jensen has held that Trump aims to strike a grand bargain to reshape the world order and recreate the era of spheres of influence. Look at this term, spheres of influence. This concept of spheres of influence means one, when a hegemon recognizes that there are other hegemons locally in that geopolitical climate. Now, like let's say for Russia, let's say for China, if USA has to counter China, then it has to make sure Russia and China ka bonding should not be strengthened. So what it is trying to do? It is trying to sabotage Ukraine. Yes. Now here it is not about telling whether Ukraine is good guy, Russia is bad guy. It is not that. If you're going to hold a peace talk, if you're going to mediate, then involve both the worst affected parties of both sides. Here, if you're going to have a peace talk and you're telling you will not have Ukraine in it, and with respect to the Gaza situation, if you're telling you're not going to have Palestine in it, how is it considered a proper solution? How you consider that as a peace deal? Where is the point of you mediating? Oh, the whole point of mediation is being non-biased, right? Now, the history has been answered. That is, we have seen this kind of scenarios throughout the history. One such example is your Berlin Conference, wherein your powers, your Western powers, divided Africa among themselves. But the way they divided it is also like they did not consider the geography, they did not consider the culture on ground, but rather, let's assume this is Africa. They started dividing among themselves with these lines. They didn't consider the geography, they didn't consider the boundary, they didn't consider the culture, they didn't consider the people. It was just that, yes, we are going to take this part. This part is for me, that part is for you. So, this kind of attitude is what right now we are also trying to see. And when we see with respect to the Durand line between Afghanistan and Pakistan, the partition was done in such a manner that it did not consider the ground level realities nor the geography. Even the Yalta conference, if you see, it strengthened the position of USA as the world's security provider. Setting up Cold War camps, making sure that this world requires one hegemon, and that hegemon is USA. So, the Yalta conference was a significant move to make sure strengthening of your Western order. Look at this. From Ukraine's minerals to the Gaza's Riviera, why Trump's policy is all about money. Is peace returning to Ukraine? The Trump Putin factor challenges ahead. See, with all of this, yes, they may able to arrive at a solution or a reduction of conflict, or even let's say peace in the regions. But is that long standing? Is that for the long term? That is what we have to question about. Now, if you see with regard to your Trump, this is not the very first time he has did that. The involvement of USA, especially. Now, when I say Trump is doing this, we have to understand one thing. It is not just yes, only this person or this character has did this. No, this is how the institution itself has operated. Before Trump, there were other US presidents. So basically, USA has adopted this strategy. Understanding it is not just Donald Trump, wherein the interference to Latin America, Middle East, Afghanistan, it is all lynching and reaching towards your American neo-imperialism. This is not a new thing. This is not of any particular, it does not mean you change the guard in the center, everything gets changed. No, this is how they have been following as a country, not just as a person or not just as a head of the state. But Trump's policy is alongside this neo imperialism and quarrel with his Western allies, neighbors, it is more of increasing the semanticism of isolationism also. So, if we see, like when we said US is moving towards the side of Russia, it's because to counter China. Look at this. The same thing that we saw can be seen here as an example in your Munich conference of 1938, when your British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain agreed for your German occupation in Sunderland. But this did not prevent Hitler from moving forward to the Second World War. Yes, same way now, Trump moving towards Russia doesn't necessarily mean that yes, the region has been given peace. And time and again, if you see domestic policies, are they getting impacted by the international relationship of a country? When we say that yes, USA is doing this, USA is not following the rule-based order. Its domestic policies are completely foolproof. It is not just USA that is doing, especially if you see during the fall of your Berlin Wall. This was very much necessarily seen with respect to your West and more specifically towards your USA. Now, when you see India's position to all of this, first and foremost, India's concept is like other countries, we just spoke about your USA, right? Despite whichever head of state comes into this position, the way they're approaching is remaining the same. The same can be told about your India also. Just because you're changing the guard, let's say your India comes to picture, Congress come to picture, any other national party, local party, regional party, any person, any head of state comes into the picture. The way India aligns its foreign policy has been almost consistent. If you see the way we align ourselves or the way we with moving towards the West, still maintaining ties with the Russia and our neighborhood policy. And recently, we've also trying to thaw the ice between your India and China. This has almost been consistent. There has been nothing much that is of changing. Now, if you see, the same thing can be told about your Europe also. Europe is also moving towards this line, wherein you have your AFD in Germany coming in, your Marine Le Pen in France. So basically, your Europe is also not being in that rule based order ambit. It is also trying to move away from that. Understanding? So, what exactly is happening right now in the international order? According to C. Raja Mohan, he has termed this phase that we are in as con intern or communist international. This was the term that was there during your 19th century. Now, how should India's approach be in this changing world? First and foremost, the way India is dealing with its neighbors is it's playing a balancing act. We're towards USA also, we're towards Russia also, we are having a balanced approach in our neighborhood policy also. So we are doing the multi-alignment policy which is working for us. India should continue, and then before doing anything, it has to approach this concept of wait and see. First, it has to see how the international order pans out and then react. For example, how your UN brought in two resolutions, one in favor of your Russia and one in favor of your Ukraine. India abstained from voting for both. So until and unless what can be certain, because right now are the times of uncertainty, until and unless some sort of certainty can become or a substantial change has happened, India still has to adopt to this wait and watch and then react approach. Sunny, we've reached the end of the content. If you like our content, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button and share it along with your friends. Thank you.